Kick and chase by Mullins. Kick and chase again by Mullins. It'll be a miracle. Oh, it is a miracle. Fafita tries to crash his way over. He does. Fafita got the ball over the line.
Hunter's kick is over the sideline for a 40-20.
Yes, g'day champions and welcome to the 40-20 Sports Podcast. Today we're going to have a little run through our predicted top 8 teams for the 2024 NRL season. Always a good little debate, this one at the start of the year. Everyone's got their opinions. Nearly next to no one is right throughout the year. I've got a couple there that I think will come into the 8 that weren't in there last year, a couple that'll drop out, and a couple of big movers that I think will be real title contenders for the year. With saying that, we'll get straight into it, hey. I'm going to bore everyone to tears with my first prediction. It'll be the Penrith Panthers again, I believe. Big losses with Stephen Crichton and Spencer Leniu. I think Spencer Leniu is probably the bigger one there, with being that damaging ball runner for the 30 minutes that he came on off the bench. He gave a lot of impact for that team. I don't know who they replace him with as that role. They've got the likes of Lindsay Smith, Eisenhuth, those type of guys, but Spencer Leniu is out and out the best bench front rower, bench forward in the game. The impact he has, they will miss that immensely, but when you've got a starting set of front rowers, Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris, I don't think it will have as big an impact on that club as it would with some others. They still got an awesome forward pack. You know, Isaiah Yeo's still there, Liam Martin's still there. So they lose one of their guns from the bench there, but they still have so much to offer in the front row and the back row there for that. Stephen Crichton, big one, losing to the Bulldogs there on that right-hand edge. Awesome combination with Dotto. I think Taylor May probably slides into that spot. I think they'd be mad if Isaac Targo move from that left edge to the right edge, although Cleary has done that with Crichton and To'o before. So again, Taylor May, Isaac Targo, whoever gets that spot, their guns, they'll have an awesome impact on that right hand edge. Big signing from Brad Schneider, probably a little bit underestimated as a signing. The work he did for Hull KR over there in the Super League last year. He was the Iceman, draining field goals in that Challenge Cup, got them to the Challenge Cup final where they lost, but still, he was playing some awesome football over there. I know it's a bit different with Super League, but very, very handy in the halves department, I think, especially around that origin time. I can bet you Canberra wish they never let him go. They could do with a 5'8" half at the moment. But yeah, I just think Penrith, too much class. Their halves, Luai, they've got him for the rest of the year. Cleary, Dylan Edwards, you look at that team and there is world-class printed all over it. So I find them hard to beat. Laurie's a good pickup for them as well. If Dylan Edwards does go into that Origin camp, I think that's where they'll be a little bit stronger this year. I think they're going to have so many players in Origin. I think they'll be better for that with all that experience now. These lesser guys are getting a bit more game time with Penrith. Hopefully the Origin doesn't hurt them as much with these Schneiders and Lauries coming in around that Origin time. Number 2, I've got as massive improvers from last year. I've got the Roosters. They're going to come up from 7th. I think they will be thereabouts this year. Last year, everyone expected them to be up there in the top favourites for the premiership. They've signed that guy I was just talking about, Spencer Leniu, again, most damaging reserve front rower the game has seen, Nilly. He will bring that aggression to that team if they need it anymore. They now have the likes in the forward pack. Jared Ware-Hargraves is there for another year. You've got Lindsay Collins and Terrell May improved out of sight towards the back end of the year there last year. Spencer Leniu coming off the bench again, formidable. He'll give them every bit of aggression that they may have missed from last year. Well, especially the start of last year, the Roosters were quite poor. They've got Dom Young from the Knights, leading try scorer of last year, on that right-hand edge. Possibly, you would think it'll be him and Joey Manu. That's scary stuff. I know everyone's probably going to beat it up a little bit because of Teddy, but Teddy just needs to... I think Robson will know what Teddy's downfalls were from last year. You know, Teddy's an absolute champion of the game. He will come back bigger and better than that. He is so much better player than what he dished up last year. I think they'll address what issues they had last year. They'll make amends for them. I think they'll start red hot. The talk is that the Roosters don't start their campaigns to the season off really well. I think they will rectify that. They'll have a massive preseason because of that. Sam Walker, I think, is in for a massive year. I think you'll see him start taking the reins a little bit more. He was sort of out of that first grade squad, I thought, a bit more than what they wanted. He did get dropped down in New South Wales Cup, get a bit more confidence back, but then picked up niggling little injuries. But he played pretty well the last 2 games they got. He had 2 games in before the semi-finals kicked off, and he played pretty well in those semi-final games. So I can see the Roosters coming back. They've got an awesome forward pack. Brandon Smith, he was up there with one of the best hookers in the game towards the back end. He got that consistency of playing hooker throughout the year. So I think they're going to be dangerous. I think they have got strike power all over. They just need to make it click and make it work. And I think they are going to be title contenders. Number 3, up the Waz, we got the Warriors. They're going to come up from 4th to 3rd spot this year. I think they're going to improve on last year, believe it or not. They've got the backing of New Zealand now. You saw that in the home semi that they got against the Knights. They have signed well with Kurt Capewell. I think he's going to be every bit of experience that they need in that forward pack. Coming semi-finals football, potentially grand final football. Kurt Capewell is a noted winner. He'll be massive for the club. We've got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck going back to the club. He's going to play, albeit in the centres. I think the Warriors are going to be putting that much pressure on themselves, and they're going to hold themselves to such a high standard that they won't settle to be a bounce back team. You know, we've seen it before from the Warriors. They jump up and have a good year. The next year, you know, they struggle to make the 8. I think Webster being there is immense for that club. They have got some awesome strike power in the forwards. Adam Fanua-Blake, he had a whale of a year last year. He showed glimpses of that at Manly, you know, that potential that he's got. I just see them being better for the run. Sean Johnson has to stay fit. We did see that in a couple of games where he was out. He'll need to keep those old legs to feel as fresh as possible throughout the season. But in saying that, Tamare Martin's an awesome replacement if he does go down. Metcalf's there, and I think they'll be handy replacements for him if something does go awry with Sean Johnson. Their backs, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, he had an awesome year last year. He's been pretty handy throughout his entire career. He sort of doesn't have the accolades that the other wingers get, but he can sniff out a try as best as anyone. They've got Chance Nickel-Klokstad there at the back. I wonder if the Warriors start the season a little bit slow and they start looking for a few answers. If Chance Nickel-Klokstad may be pulled out of that fullback spot to give Tuivasa-Sheck a crack at fullback. Not any disrespect to Nickel-Klokstad. He is an international centre for the Kiwis. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck won the Dally M medal at fullback. So that'll also be an option there and one to watch with the Warriors. But yeah, I think they've basically lost no one of merit. Josh Curran's gone, but he was getting a bit of a bench role, and they have replaced him with Kurt Capewell, which is a hell of a signing. Yeah, I just think the trip across the ditch is insanely hard as it is. Now that they're going to have those crowds, if they get crowds half as decent as what we saw in the semi-finals, I think that trip across the ditch is as good as an L for 95% of teams throughout the 2024 season. Number 4, I've got the Broncos. I still think they'll be title contenders. I think they will round out the top 4, coming down from second. Lost a lot of experience there, especially in the forwards. You got Tom Flegler, Kurt Capewell, Palacia gone. They've replaced him with Fletcher Baker. Granted, they've got a lot of younger blokes coming through. They got Willison there. They're going to have Piakura there taking Capewell's spot. But that's a lot of handy players that they're missing. Their centre wing position is up for debate as well. Well, not up for debate. We all know Cobbo's going there, but Herbie Farnworth going, that'll be a tricky one to replace, even with a guy with the potential to be good at centre like Cobbo has. He's an out-and-out freak on the wing, so it'll be interesting to see if he does fit into that centre's position as well as what Herbie was. He's a handy replacement for Herbie, but I think it leaves him a little bit short on the wing. Kevy's come out and basically said that I think they're going to run Corey Oates and Jesse Arthurs on the wing. That doesn't scream anything too exciting, but it does scream a bit of stability. Corey Oates has played Origin. He's played first grade for however many games. He'll do a job for them there. Jesse Arthurs, I think before the semi-final series last year, he was sort of an up-and-coming reserve player. Well, not up-and-coming, he'd been around for a while, but a reserve grade player that stepped into first grade shoes when there was an injury. He had a whale of a campaign towards the back of the year. His semi-finals, his grand final was huge. His hit-ups, getting them out of trouble. I don't think they'll lose anything there, but there is a guy by the name of Dean Marina. He will come off the bench. Oh, sorry, not off the bench. He'll come out of reserves, I believe, at some stage this year, and he every chance of taking Corey Oates' spot if he doesn't perform. I've still got the Broncos doing enough to get the top four. They still have Payne Haas leading the club there with the front row. Fletcher Baker, I'm not too sure how many minutes he'll get. I think they'll move one of the other guys up into there. But yeah, you've got Jensen there. He's in for a big year, I think. I watched a trial tonight of the Broncos, and Willison was massive in that. He's another forward up and coming. They've still got a lot of strike power. Reece Walsh at the back, absolute freak. He's still so young. It is near impossible to stop him when he gets on the outside man. That skip across on the right-hand edge, you're leaving defenders in absolute disarray. So I think the Broncos will still be title contenders. They'll round up that top four. I've just got them slipping down a bit because of how much experience and quality they're going to lose. Number 5, always there and abouts, the Melbourne Storm. I've got them down from 3rd spot, but they could finish anywhere from 1st to 5th, I believe. Signing of Sean Bloor will be good for them. They sort of missing that strike-powered second rower. Trent Liero's there. I think he'll still get the nod at the start of the year, but again, Sean Bloor has a massive future ahead of him. He's been stuck there at the Tigers, very much injury-riddled there at the Tigers, but he was having a good end of the back year with him. I think he'll give them a little bit more excitement, a little bit more of an attacking role in that second row spot there. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Pappy. A lot of people have gone off him a little bit, saying, he's injury prone and everything, which clearly he is, but a Pappenhausen that's fighting fit, a Pappenhausen that is at the top of his game, is a Clive Churchill medal winner. He's been there before, he won grand finals. I think they've still got the nucleus there of the side. Harry Grant, Munster, Hughes, Pappenhausen coming back. It's about as scary as they get. The only thing I have a little bit of worry about is their forward and their forward depth. But Melbourne, as we know, they turn forwards that don't have huge wraps on them into that hard-nosed players and awesome defenders that we've seen throughout the many, many years that Bellamy just has a way with getting those guys to shine. I think up front, Christian Welsh, Nelson Asafa-Solomona, I think is about how you pronounce it. Him being there, those two guys, that's a huge impact on the front row. I think they'll concentrate on Nelson in the front row this year. Played a little bit of second rower. He was damaging there, but I just think they're a little light on. Having Sean Bloor there will be perfect for them to put Nelson back into the front row. Little bit skinny on the bench. I'm predicting either Garlick or Wishart be there. But yeah, I think Sean Bloor will be huge. Trent Liero, I think he will at least the middle of the year, he'll move back into the bench spot and Sean Bloor will really shine for them. Next up in 6th spot, we've got the Mighty Knights down from 5th. I've still got them in there for that home game semi-final. They have had a stack of losses throughout this next year and a heap of gains. Gains of Jed Cartwright, Jack Cogger, Tom Jenkins, Kai Pearce-Paul and Will Price. Those two last boys are coming over from England. Kai Pearce-Paul, we'll start with him, has massive raps on him. I am hearing huge things from him. He is looking to be more and more ready for the start of the season. He's had a foot injury. I don't think he'll get that starting spot. I think Dylan Lucas has done enough to cement himself in that spot. He had a great second half of the year. But Kai Pearce-Paul will be... I'm so excited to see how he goes and handles NRL instead of that the Super League there. You've got the likes in that squad. Kalen Ponga, massive. Dally M winner. No one could get within QE of him towards the back end of the year. The best thing they ever did, switching him from 5'8" to fullback. I don't think they'll ever do that again. Surely they don't ever do that again. That is an experiment that's dead in the water now. I think he is an out-and-out fullback until his coming days into retirement, I think. They've got that left-hand edge. Bradman Best had an awesome year. I think he'll be better for that run that he had in Origin. He just came out of that such a better player than what he was going into that. There was everyone writing him off. You know, he doesn't deserve to be here. What the hell's Freddie doing? And he shut them all up with a double in Origin. Proved that he's meant to be there. Proved that he is that calibre of player. I think he proved that to himself because he came back from Origin with that much confidence and it came into his club level football, which is awesome to see. Greg Marzu on that wing, he is the wrecking ball. You know, they lose Dom Young, which will be massive. Dom Young could score tries that no one else will score. That right-hand edge, it'll be interesting to see who they put in there. But the left-hand edge is shored up with Greg Marzu. Try-scoring free. Awesome at getting them out of trouble. I just think that left-hand edge, there is talk that Frizzy is going to head over to the left-hand edge with the loss of Lachlan Fitzgibbon. So if that left-hand edge was any more damaging, it's got there. You've got Frizzell jumping in there now. So, I mean, it looks like the most potent edge in the NRL on paper. Just defending nightmare it'll be. You'll have Frizzell, Ponga sweeping out the back, Bradman Best into Greg Marzu. How do you stop that? The right-hand side will have Dylan Lucas. I think he'll start there on the second row. He had an awesome end to the year last year, showed that he's got the potential there to be a game-busting second rower. Awesome work rate, a lot of upside there. Breaks the line, breaks defenders, tries in his game. The big one for me with the Knights will be their bench. I think their bench last year, when their reserve were coming on, they sort of lacked a bit of punch. This year, the Knights bench, I believe it'll be Crossland, either one of the Safidi twins, Kai Pearce-Paul, and either Jack Hetherington or Matt Croker. That oozes class, especially from Phoenix Crossland. The year he had to the back end of the year, his service from dummy half improved. His tackling was insane. Like his tackles throughout the game improved out of sight. He started off as a half. They've moved him into the hooker role, and he figured out how to play hooker towards the back end of the year. A lot of criticism came his way. A lot of criticisms come his way for the last couple of years, but I think he shut a lot of people up towards the back end of the year. They get Brails back. Brayley, fingers crossed he can stay injury-free, because there is a guy that's injury-prone. It's him. Coming back from that Achilles injury that ruled him out for last season. They are going to be even better with him in the hooking role. That spine increase is better. That service from dummy half, as good as Crossland was last year, that service out of dummy half that Brails has got, is just that little bit touch better. He'll get the ball out to Hastings, get it out to Ponga, just that little bit crisper, a little bit quicker, and give those boys a little bit more time. The big one there is Jack Cogger. Now, Jack Cogger starred in a grand final winning Penrith Panthers side last year. I have got him putting every bit of pressure on Gamble and Hastings. I don't think he starts that round one team. It'll be absolutely cruel if O'Brien gives one of those boys the punt after the success they had into the back end of last year. I've got him coming into reserve grade to start, but my God, that is some healthy competition for that squad, for that halves role. If one was to go down, they had Adam Clune there last year who did a job. Jack Cogger will come in and do a better job. If not, he will take someone's position if he performs the way he did in that grand final in reserve grade. He will pick himself. He will make it known that he cannot be not picked in that ninth squad. So yeah, I've got them in 6th, up from 5th. In 7th, I had these guys a little bit higher, but the Bunnies coming up from 9th, I still think whatever happened last year, I hope they clear the water with that. I think they will be better for that. They'll right the wrongs of last year. Everyone forgets that Souths were winning the competition in round 11. Now, round 11 is pretty late into the competition. So the Bunnies in 7th for me, I had them around 4th and 5th until devastating news about Campbell Graham. He's going to be out for 6 months with that sternum surgery that he's going to have. That makes the signing of Jack Whiten from a great signing to a fucking miracle signing. Jackie Whiten, they now still have a potent centre position, a go-to guy in the centres that they may have been lacking if Campbell Graham was gone for that 6 months. God, it would have been awesome to see them have both strike weapons across both sides of the field with Jack Whiten and Campbell Graham. You wouldn't have known which side they were going. They were floating right and left-hand side at the start of the year, as opposed to going down that constant left-hand side that they were going throughout the years. Jackie Whiten, he will be suspended for the first couple of games there, but he will come into that side raring and ready to go. He looks fit. He looks like he's formed a bit of a bromance with the fullback there. So they got into a bit of trouble there, him and Latrell Mitchell. But they've had all that cleared now. I think that bromance there of Mitchell and Whiten will only grow, and I think Latrell Mitchell's football will be better for it. He'll have a little bit of more mental stability there with his mate there and Jackie Whiten. On Latrell Mitchell, I hear he shed a couple of kgs coming into the season. I think he'll be out there to prove a lot of people wrong. They've lost Blakey Taff and Harm Saleh. Harm Saleh was good for them last year. He came off the bench and he really plugged a role. The only gripe I might have with the Bunnies is their front row depth. To Toller and Burgess in the front row there does get a bit skinny when those boys are off. They have David Mawali, who has a lot of potential. Saluka Fafita, also a lot of potential, but young guys. They have signed Sean Keppie, but he's a bit of an up and down front rower. Not too much that excites me about Sean Keppie, but he's played first grade before. He'll be good for 30 minutes coming off the bench, and he'll do a job for them. The halves pairing of Cody Walker. Sorry, not the pairing, but I'm gonna go in on Cody Walker. Was shifting between the right and left hand side, which was bloody beautiful to see last year. Had that right hand edge of Keon Koloamatangi humming with Campbell Graham. Now, who they plugged Campbell Graham with, I'm guessing Isaiah Tass. Isaiah Tass played on the left hand side. Does that mean that Jack Whiten goes to the right? It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But they still do have a lot of strike weapon in Cody Walker. I think when he is at his best, he is one of the best 5'8" in the competition. Gave it to the Maroons in Game 3, albeit it was a dead rubber. The Maroons had settled that score. But he was clearly the right choice for that Cauldron game. He was, absolutely dynamic, working with Bradman Best on that left-hand edge. That's what they said. Just you work on your left-hand edge, what you've been doing at club level, and you'll be fine. And he was, He took it to the Maroons. He'd had a bit of a checkered past with Origin duties before. So it was awesome to see him go in there and brain it. Unfortunately, come back at club level and just it wasn't clicking for the poor old Bunnies. But I think they'll be better for what happened to them last year for this year. They'll get into the 8. Whether how far they go now that they've lost a bit of a strike weapon and they are a bit skinny in the front row forwards, all be to decide. Damien Cook's not getting any younger. He seems like he's not running out of dummy half as much. He's more of a stand and deliver kind of guy. But in saying that, his service out of dummy half is world class. If he misses the origin period, Reece Robson may go in there. We saw that towards last year. That could be everything that the Bunnies would desire out of a hooker with him there. If he stays at the Bunnies through that origin period, that only gives the Bunnies a better chance at what they're going to do for the year. AJ, he could very well get the leading try scoring accolades of the whole NRL system throughout the history of the game by the end of the year. It'll be bloody special to see if he does. He still has a lot of tries to score, but if there's anyone can do it, it's Alex Johnson there on the wing, coming off that left-hand edge for the Bunnies. So, yeah, I've got them at 7th. Just hope they can pull their shit together. If they do that, it'll be better. It'll be better for everyone, to be honest. The Bunnies being a formidable side. You never like to see a team go out due to in-house fighting, because clearly that's what it was. And, yeah, they'll be a force to reckon with, I think. Top 8 there for me. Rounding out the top 8 will be the Sharkies. I ummed and ahed about the Sharkies, whether they will make the 8. They've got a very similar side to last year. They have got to sort their shit out against top 8 sides. They just can't seem to perform against the top 8s. Not that they don't perform. Maybe that is their best performance and they just can't match it with the top 8 sides. The last 3 years, they've lost 3 semi-final games, or final games, sorry. They just seem to struggle when it comes to versing the good teams. Their front row forward and forwards, they're good without being great. You've got Toby Rudolph, Hamlin Uele, Brayley there at hooker, Royce Hunt coming off the bench. You know, they're good players without being damaging players. They've lost Wade Graham there. They've lost Matt Moylan. I think a big one for them is Connor Tracy being gone. He was a bit of a Mr. Fix-It for them. Haven't really signed anyone of note. They've got Adam Fanua-Blake coming next year, but the 2024 season, I've got them in 8th. They'll come off the back of Nicho Hynes. He's got a new halves pairing. Well, not new, but Braden Trindle will be there throughout the entire year now. With Moylan gone, he'll get the reins in that 6. That could be beneficial for the club. Nobody's doubting their backline prowess of, Mulatalo. He's on his day, he's one of the best finishers in the game. William Kennedy, he had a massive year. He came leaps and bounds. He was under a bit of pressure from a rookie last year. I don't think that'll be the case. I think he cemented that fullback spot. His game focuses a lot on backing up, which is awesome to have, but I don't think he's got that dynamic running game or pure class and touch ball playing game that a lot of the good fullbacks have. Not to say that he's not a good fullback. He is. I rate Will Kennedy highly. Just doesn't have that little bit of extra touch. You got Katoa there on the other side with Jesse Ramian. That is one of the premier backs, but I just think they're lacking in the forwards a little bit to match with them superstars in the game. The only reason I've got them there in 8th is how easy their draw is. I think only 7 teams from last year they versed that were in the top 8, so that might give them a little bit more of a chance to make the 8, but even then, I think those teams that are on the fringe, I think this year's going to be so tight that a lot of teams will figure them out, so they'll struggle to win games against those guys that are thereabouts for the competition. So that's it. That's my top 8. I do have anywhere for the 7th or 8th spot. I've got that anywhere 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. That can probably make it. Special mentions there. I've got 9th, the Dolphins, 10th, Parramatta, 11, Manly, and 12, the Cowboys. Dolphins have got some huge signings. Flegler, Herbie Farnworth, Jake Averillo. I think if they were in 7th spot, it wouldn't shock me. If they are in 8th, wouldn't shock me. Also, if they are down in 12th, wouldn't shock me. that there is going to be really tight. 10th, Parramatta. I think they're thereabouts again this year, but still I just don't have them in my top 8. Manly, I think they're every chance of getting the top 8. They need Trbojevic to be fit though. He could get them into a top 8 spot all on his own bat, but he needs to stay fit. And 12, I've got the Cowboys. I think they have the talent and the potential to get in the 8, but they just need to sort their shit out from last year. We saw 2022 had an awesome year. If they can re-emulate that sort of style of Cowboy football, which was primarily on their defence, I think they can make a real run for it. But yeah, that's me. That's who we've got for the top 8. That is about all for tonight as well. I'm sure you're sick of me blabbing about everyone else's teams, but that's me. That's the top 8. Thanks again so much for watching, guys. 4020 podcast. That's it. Cheers.